Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the August 24th, 2023 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. I would like to, first item of business, before we call the roll call, I'd like to introduce our newest commission member, Sarah Walensky. And she comes to us as a town meeting member. She has a science background, she has a computer background, and I assume she has a keen interest in what we do. So with that, I'd like to introduce her to the community, and I'd like to call upon Sarah to say anything she would like to say in the way of background, as little or as much as you'd like.
Sure. Okay, my name is Sarah Walensky. I'm from Precinct 5 as a town meeting member. My background is in experimental high-energy physics. I got a PhD in 2002 from the University of Michigan. And then immediately after doing that, I spent the next 10 years as a stay-at-home mom. We have 4 kids. They've all been through the Burlington schools. We still have one at Burlington High School. So after 10 years as a mom, then I started working as a computer programmer, and that's what I still do. So I've been at that about 10 years. I work for a company called Jenzabar that makes higher ed software. I've always been extremely interested in conservation, land use issues, sustainability issues. Shopped around a couple of committees because I understand the real work of town meeting is done in committee. They were all full from Precinct 5. There was no need for another person, but I learned that there was an open seat on this commission, so I applied for it. That's my story in a nutshell.
And we are delighted to have her. All right. So, well, I will go through the roll call, and please signify if you are present, which I can see, but we'll go for the record. All right, Ed Laturco. Here. Rob Sheehan.
Here.
Sarah Walensky.
Here.
Bill Boyman.
Here.
Indra Deb.
Here.
Kent Moffett.
Here.
And Larry Cohen, for the chair, for the record, is present. All right. Yeah, and then I would like to introduce our staff, John Keeley.
Here.
And Eileen Coleman.
Here.
All right, I almost forgot, but Bill was my trusted left hand, I guess.
Left-hand man, your left-hand man.
My left hand, yeah, that doesn't even sound right. All right, next we have the approval of minutes. So that's item number 3 item number 2 is first public comment. Is there anyone here either online or in the audience for something that's not on the agenda that they'd like to have a few minutes of our time to talk about? All right, the record which show there was a 0 response. There is no one for public comment. The item 3 on the agenda is the approval of minutes for July 13th, 2023. Did anyone see anything on the draft worthy of discussion other than edits? No. All right, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 13th, 2023?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. I'll abstain.
Okay, so it's 6-0-1. Okay.
I think he can still vote if you weren't here.
What's that?
I think he can still vote if he wasn't here.
I did watch it online, but
You can vote, he can
You can
vote.
vote even if you're...
Is that the tradition?
Would you like to
or
vote
did you
yes?
watch the last meeting?
Rob,
So new.
excuse me, would you like to vote yes? You're qualified to vote.
I'll change my vote to yes.
7-0-0.
Oh, Maureen said they just lost audio.
What's that?
Maureen said they just lost audio. Can you just check your end?
All right, are we having technical difficulties?
Well, oh, is that me? Online, it's, they lost audio. Dave Miller and Maureen were both saying they lost audio.
All right, it says unmute yourself up there.
We must have muted something in the system accidentally.
Yeah, because that does not appear on my screen, so that's talking to this computer.
I don't know how because we were nowhere near it, but it must be in the
Did you turn our guests off, Eileen?
Sorry, what?
Did you turn our guests off?
I did not. I turned,
Okay.
no.
Okay, can everyone hear us now online?
Maureen and everybody, yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so the item 4 on the agenda is a request for certificate of compliance and surety release. It's for 14 Spring Valley Road to Michael Casey, DEP file number 122-667. Is Mr. Casey here?
Yes.
Yeah, why not? All right, nice to see you.
You as well.
All right, so you don't have to actually do anything for this, other than unless someone has a question. All right, so we had a site visit yesterday. John or Eileen, do you have any comments on the condition of the site?
Well, I'll just remind everybody, first of all, what it was. This was, Mr. Casey submitted a notice of intent for a garage in 1% floodplain, which also is the same as bordering land subject to flooding for you, which you administer. So after some work with his engineer friend, they determined that they could in fact everybody determined that they could build their garage on pretty open on piers. So we went along yesterday to look at that, and I had seen it in the past. I had seen it while it was being built. Everything looked good. I know that the stormwater system is in place. I have photographs of when that went in. He did do some plantings at the back that don't look like they're in great shape, but maybe they'll rally.
Are you talking behind the fence?
Yes.
It's pretty dense there already.
It is pretty dense there already. I had a bit of an issue, just a question that I didn't quite understand about the compensatory flood storage, just because what's written on the table, I just couldn't really understand where the numbers were coming from, where we're showing on the as-built plan. But the answer apparently is because the storage over a number of feet is in the matter of just inches or even fractions of an inch for the amount of cubic storage that we're talking about. So it wasn't really going to show up on an as-built plan showing 1 foot elevations. So I'm happy, I'm satisfied that he has completed all the things that he said he would do and has satisfied all of your conditions.
All right. Okay. Is there any questions from the commission? We have a certificate of compliance for 14 Spring Valley Road. Any questions at all?
Somewhat of a challenging situation, but it came out nice and it looks really good. I'm impressed, so.
Thank you.
All right, so if there's nothing further, could I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 14 Spring Valley Road, DEP file number 122-667?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, 700. Eileen, is there any reason you see to withhold the surety?
I don't, it was for 3,500.
And you're recommending full release?
I would. Yep.
All right, could I have a motion to release the full amount of the bond surety of $3,500 for DEP file number 122-667 under authority of Burlington Bylaw Article 14?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, you have full release. All right. Mr. Casey, it was a pleasure working with you. Like somebody already said, this was a very challenging site. And I admired the persistence, which we kept going after it, so we could get it through past the regulations and how to comply. It's much appreciated.
I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you. And, one more thing. The lemonade was very good that your children prepared.
I think they did well on that lemonade. Yeah.
Did
Very
they?
good.
All right.
It wasn't too sweet or anything, it was good.
No, it was perfect.
They taste tested. It was good.
Did they?
They were so pleased when they saw a whole bunch of commissioners arriving from the lemonade stand. They were going, "Oh, customers!"
They didn't know that it was the commission. They thought you guys came for the lemonade. So
Well,
it worked out.
that's our story. We're sticking to
There
it.
you go. Thanks
All
again.
right, thank you. All right, we're on item 5A. Item 5A is 127 Bedford Street. It's a request for extension to Burlington Wetlands Bylaw permit. Okay, I assume the request is for a 3-year extension? Is that correct?
Oh, actually, I've forgotten. How long was the extension for?
Maureen's shaking her head, so.
We're requesting a 6-month extension, Mr. Chairman. The project to 95% completed. We still need to hydroseed the site, stabilize the site, put in a few more plantings, and it will be a done deal. So that's something that we feel we can accomplish this fall.
All right, Maureen, I'm sorry I forgot that you were here for that. I didn't realize you were here for this particular project, otherwise I would have called on you. You might want to just state your name for the record so it goes into the minutes.
And Maureen Harold, Norse Environmental Services.
Right, thank you very much. Okay, so the request is for a 6-month extension. Is there any, Eileen, is there any substantive non-compliance, like we should not be issuing this extension?
It's been very, 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 very slow compliance. And I don't think it's entirely the applicant's fault. I think they've just, between trying to get their contractors working and weather conditions, it's really dragged on. But Maureen was there this week, yesterday or today, and as she stated, it's almost complete. The landscaper put up some additional erosion control along the boundary line with the immediate neighbour next door where possible runoff could be going. And they are committing to do that work.
Okay, so you don't object to the extension?
Well, I'm not thrilled with it, but I don't object to it. It's just been going on so long. I think everybody would just like to see this.
All right, any discussion from the commission? No. Hearing none, could I have a motion to issue a 6-month extension to the Burlington Wetlands Bylaw permit for 127 Bedford Street? Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 700. Okay, that passes.
Great, thank you for your time this evening.
Okay, thank you, Maureen. Nice to see you.
You too.
How about this one, General Walker?
Okay, so next we have a second request for extension, Burlington Wetlands Bylaw permit for General Walker Estates, Dartmouth Road, 101 Francis Wyman Road. The request is by Waypoint Companies. And how long is this request for?
I believe this one's for 3 years.
3 years. All right. So first I will go to our staff. Do you have any comments you'd like to offer? And then I think we'd like to hear if there's anybody here from the public.
Well, Afaf is from the developer.
What's that?
The person who just spoke there, she's representing the applicant.
Oh, okay.
She is the applicant.
Okay. Would the applicant introduce themselves and because I only see initials from here, so I don't see. Oh,
Sure. My name is Afaf Georges. I work for Waypoint Companies.
yes. Okay. Would you like to say anything about what we're considering here?
Yes, we'd like to extend. We are in the process also of permitting to build in that lot, and that's really the last house that will be going up in the area. So we're hoping to extend it, complete our project.
Okay. And my understanding is that lot was previously permitted. Is that correct?
It don't think it wasn't approved.
No, it was. So,
Oh, what?
yeah, so initially there was one wetland Burlington Wetland Bylaw permit issued for the entire lot,
Yes.
which was 101 Francis Wyman Road, where there was one house with a lot of land behind it that went all the way back.
Correct.
Back to basically the Dartmouth Road cul-de-sac. So the project proposed putting a cul-de-sac originally on Francis Wyman Road and extending the cul-de-sac on Dartmouth Road. To reduce pavement, the planning board allowed, and the Board of Appeals, I believe, allowed them to
Eliminate the cul-de-sac on Francis Wyman Road. They built 2 houses there. Those houses are completed. Those houses have been occupied for a while. Dartmouth Road was extended, and there are 4 lots on Dartmouth Road. So it's a total of 6-lot subdivision. 5 of the lots are done. One house was just renovated, 2 new houses were built. The one lot that remains unbuilt, in which they still need to complete, is the one that actually has the isolated wetland on it. So all the other ones were actually either outside the buffer zone to the isolated wetland or fairly well out into the outer buffer zone. So we're finally getting to actually building a lot where the resource area is. And it was a isolated wetland, so it was only filed under the Burlington Wetland Bylaw, not under the Wetlands Protection Act. The cul-de-sac is completed. The drainage is done for the cul-de-sac. There's an underground infiltration system behind number 5.
And 3.
5 and 3. It's a large system. And the new lot, I assume, would be number 7 Dartmouth? Is that how the numbers will go?
6.
Yes, okay.
All right, so before we go for comment, does the commission have any questions at all for our staff on this? Anything occur to you? I have one question. Anyone have a question? All right, my one question is, John, is the existing order of conditions sufficient to protect the wetland on that last lot, sufficiently protected?
Conditions are, I would imagine that they're going to need to refresh erosion control.
So they might have to refresh erosion control. It's been there for so long.
Right.
All right. Is there anything else? Wait, hang on a second, sir. Is there anything else, John, that needs to be done?
No.
All right. All right. So, sir, do you have,
Sir.
Mr. Georges? Ms. Georges?
Yes,
Ms. Georges, do you have any further comment before we go on to other discussion about this?
No, as far as the erosion control, as soon as we get back onto the site, all of that would be cleaned up and new erosion control would be placed along that, the right side where the wetlands is, all the way down to the street.
Right. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Thank you. All right. So is there anybody in the audience present here in the audience that wants to first, then we're going to go to people online. Is there anybody present in the audience that has a comment about General Walker Estates, Dartmouth Road, 101 Francis Wyman Road? Okay, the record should show no one is present in the audience. Now, online, anyone would like to make a comment? Obviously, we'll have to moderate it one person at a time for obvious reasons. Anybody would like to make a comment?
Dave Miller has his hand up.
Dave has his hand up. Mr. Miller, I can barely see the hand up, but so now I see it. Would you like to make some comments?
Yeah, well, I have a question.
Please introduce yourself and go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm Dave Miller. I live in 19 Gloria, a direct abutter to this project.
Yes, go ahead.
And I just have a question. If I heard correctly tonight, they're going for a 3-year extension. And I was just curious why 3 years? At the last planning board meeting, one of the project managers said they had this one house to complete and it should take them 32 to 36 weeks and they'll be done. So why 3-year extension when they're going to have a project that's going to be done in 6 months or so?
All right, Ms. Georges.
As far as I know, it'll take approximately a year to build the house. So,
At the planning board meeting, Mr. Champy said it was 32 to 36 weeks.
I don't think that's imaginable. 32 to 36 weeks, maybe.
I'm just saying what he's told.
I'm sorry, I wasn't on it and I'm not aware of what he
Even
said.
at that, why 3 years? That's my question.
I'll be more than happy to request one for less, maybe a year and a half. This way we can be totally clean up the island as well, because I think that was part of the planning board was requesting something about that island to be cleaned up and organized. So it might take maybe a year to a year and a half to be out.
Oh, boy.
I mean, 9 months, we can build a house in 9 months.
They weren't
but
Well, I don't know.
I mean, we don't.
better safe with a year.
All right, Mr. Miller, anything further?
No, that was the only comment.
All right, thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else online who would like to make a comment? I'm looking for hands up. I see none, too. Great English. All right, so yes, John, do you have a comment on this?
It's probably, it doesn't do any harm to do it for 3 years. If they finish it in a year, you issue the certificate of compliance a year from now. My impression that I got though was that you guys are not going to actually build that lot, that you're selling it to somebody else. And that somebody else might have a different timetable. Is that true?
It will be in conjunction with Greg Hickok.
Right.
And that's a different entity, is that correct?
Yes.
So,
And additionally, so once the house is constructed, that's fine, but you're not going to want to sign off on this until all the landscaping is done, the law is well established and everything. So you want to give yourself some time. If they finish the project in November, you're not going to get landscaping until the following spring. And, then a few months later before it's actually well established, so.
my recommendation to the commission would be to extend this for 3 years, simply because we have an unknown factor coming in with an additional builder, I guess, coming in, and that could affect things. And it's usually the standard extension that we do issue, even though we just issued a 6-month, is historically has been 3 years. We usually, and there is people who are building homes have every incentive to get it done quickly and turned over. Financial incentive. All right, so I'll entertain a motion from the commission, whatever you would like to do.
I'll move that it be the 3 years. I mean, again, if it's done sooner, we can wrap it up sooner. That's all. So there's no harm in having it for 3 years, rather than having to open it again if there was some other issues. So I move that it be a 3-year extension.
All right, is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion from anyone? All right, all in favor? 7-0-0. All right, Ms. Georges, you have a 3-year extension.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Stefan.
Is there whether it's already been heard or not?
Oh, okay.
I can see the name underneath it.
All right, so I think if we're correct, somebody from 127 Bedford Street, Vanden Lay maybe, has just logged on. We have already taken care of giving the extension for 127 Bedford Street. So I guess you can log off unless you want to watch what we do.
No, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks.
Sitting there waiting for something to happen.
Thank you, Bill, for helping me out here. All right, so that takes care of that. All right, so now we're skipping down to item 6A. Notice is given that the Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting, during which time we have a proposed demolition of a 900-square-foot building within the riverfront area, which is in bordering land subject to flooding resource area, and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetland located at True Great Meadow Road. And it turns out that the town of Burlington and Brian White is the proposed applicant, are the town's DPW superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Commission.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, would you like to give us a brief summary of what's going on?
Sure. So the site was previously occupied by our Water and Sewer Division for the last several decades. As we built the 2 new DPW facilities, Water and Sewer moved into 1 Great Meadow along with Highway. And so that site became vacant. During this most As one phase of that, the older building, the one in question to be demoed, was determined to be in poor condition. So the intent for that all along was to demolish that as part of all of the DPW relocation for health, safety reasons. And then this previous town meeting, the town sought the use of, sought the purpose to reuse the garage portion, the building to the right if you visit the site, which is in good structural shape, to be used as the new dog pound facility, which was previously where the DPW facility is now. So that was at town meeting in a contested article, but nonetheless passed. And so this relates to a little bit of, so it relates to the demo of the building that we were going to take down regardless. And then a small portion of it is to convert an area that was a storage shed container to a concrete pad.
Right. Okay. Some of us were out there yesterday. We took a look. John or Eileen, do you have some comments from us?
I will. So I took this snippet from one of their, it's actually from part of the application for 3 Great Meadow Road, just because this one shows all the resource areas, because I just wanted to make that clear. So these, mostly for Sarah, these are the wetland flags. So there's wetland nearby, there's Vine Brook nearby, there's, this is floodplain on the property. So as Brian explained, that what they were proposing to do was to tear down this little building here, and they are proposing to replace that with pervious surface. So given the proximity to wetlands, to so many resources, I would say this is actually an improvement over what's there. I think they might be open to what, possibly at least, to what might be planted there. And as he said, this building here is being repurposed into the dog pound, so they replaced some containers that were, I think, always parked there. That was it. It was impervious surface, and it's now the concrete kennels that we saw. So I just provided. This was actually proposed back in March, and it just kind of slipped through the cracks. I'm sorry about that. They did put up their erosion controls, but I said since they were keen on getting the work done, once they put up their erosion controls and they submitted an RDA, they could go ahead with the work. So this was it with erosion controls pre-demo, with erosion controls after the demo, and this was what we, sort of part of what we, well, that wasn't actually what we saw yesterday. That was just really flat ground. This was just the parking lot beside it, and this, never mind. So these were, I just wanted to give you a flavor of what the environment looked like.
All right, good. Thank you, Eileen. Yes, John?
Can I just acknowledge, Brian's been here before the commission. In his previous role, I think this is the first time he's been before the commission in his new role. Just, so, just to acknowledge Brian's new position.
Thank you.
Welcome. Town's lucky to have you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, I know we've seen you here many times.
Mostly related to pump stations, sewer pump stations.
There you go. All right, absolutely.
Was this a pump station?
An old well water station prior to.
And this was a water station too. So
All right.
really, you're
All
just
right.
keeping with the trend.
Okay, so let's see if the commissioners have any questions, and maybe somebody in the audience for this, probably not. All right, Ed, any questions yet?
No, nothing to add.
All right, and Rob?
Nothing right now.
I can go back to you too if you think so. Sarah, anything?
It looked to me like we all agree this is work done, right? I mean, the thing is already knocked down.
They
It's
haven't
already.
like just finished the surface.
Okay, so is that going to be like grass, plants, or is that TBD?
That's
So that's what we're looking, what our plan, so we have some ideas for other things possibly in the future as part of this. The funding source and everything was to just take down the building and not put back any impervious. So it would be, actually tomorrow we're gonna be cleaning up the site because this is the time to plant are getting to be the time to plant. So we're going to prep that, and then if there's a special seed mix that you want to use and request in the meantime, until we come up with future proposals for anything.
Well, let's see what other thoughts commissioners have, and then
Sure.
just talk about it. Okay, let's go with Kent.
Nothing to add.
Indra?
Just one question. How much reduction of the impervious area?
So the building was, the building we took down was 900 square feet.
900 square feet.
Yep.
That's the area of the impervious area only, or?
Yeah, that's the area that we're, would like to fill in with, oh, not fill in, but replace with loam and
That's the area.
mix,
Good.
seed mix.
Thank you.
All right, Bill.
Yes, I have a question. The concrete pad that you placed there has, it looks like it's going to have some cages for holding dogs or cats or whatever you happen to have on hand at the time. Is there some kind of, I mean, I assume at times you'll be hosing that out for whatever, sanitation needs there are. Where does that go? Is there drainage in that would put it into the sewage system rather than off the property into the wetland?
There's no sewage. I don't know, I assume that for as much as the dog officer can control, there will probably be some outdoor bathrooms from the animals that might be in there. So I presume that we'd have to use, bags or scoopers.
I would hope so. I mean, you shouldn't be just hosed into the resource areas. I assume there is sewage to the site. I mean, is there a restroom in the facility?
Yep, there is. I don't believe, so the toilet facility is actually pretty elevated. There's about an 8-inch step up to it. We suspect, without opening up the walls, that the reason why it's so high is because elevation reasons. So in order to, there would not be any floor drain. I don't believe there would be any way to get a floor drain gravity feed over to the sewer.
Okay, I think that's a definite weakness in the design, personally. I think that should have been factored in somehow, because obviously you're going to have to deal with that. And it's more than just stuff you can pick up with a bag. Some of the animals might not be healthy, there's going to be urine and everything else, so I think that's a weakness in the design.
Okay, and in addition to Bill's point, I'd like to talk about two areas. One is in the back where there's wetlands, and Eileen, or John, chime in here. Should we be looking in back for some creation of a buffer zone beyond just a seeded grass mix to act, in many cases where it's right up to the edge, isn't it? And in many cases, we have opted for even the creation of 5 or 10 feet to act as a buffer zone, because an upland buffer zone works in conjunction with the wetland itself as a habitat and for protection as well. So of anything that might run off on this from the site, probably not too much. But I'm wondering if we should be looking at creating 2 stages. One is a grassy area, and the other is adjacent to the wetland. Should we be creating or planning some kind of a mix that will become a natural habitat more than a grass mix? And the second area I'd like to talk about is on the left. I guess there is a paved area that's right along the stream, is that correct?
Yep.
And out of all the areas that are sensitive, having a paved area right along the stream is probably the most environmentally sensitive portion of everything we're talking about here. So is it possible we could, as part of this project, get you to rip up that pavement and even do something with it other than just leave it as asphalt pavement if it's not needed?
So we can look at that. So two things, or 2 items that I guess I'll bring up is, One, I'm sure as Eileen and John have brought you up to speed, and you probably know already, the MS4 permit requires us to have some retro sites on hand. So we've already kind of flagged these as not only the dog pound part, but also this parking spot area as something to do a retrofit BMP.
It requires us to do what? Could you explain that again a little more?
Yeah, and Eileen can can chime in with more details, as
Please
she's
do.
the coordinator,
I'm
but
not quite sure I understand what he's saying.
Brian is talking about our MS4 permit, so our municipal separate storm sewer system permit, which the town has, around now is requiring us to have a number of sites that we're designing and planning for retrofits.
Retrofits of what?
Retrofits of municipal facilities so that they are more, so that we're having, say, less pavement, more low-impact development features, so, more swales.
So is this an issue of timing, that when we want to do this retrofit, there's a certain time when we can take credit for it? Is that what's going on? Is that what you're saying?
I guess that's part of it, but I mean, they have to time their work. I think that's something you need to do.
yeah, so the pavement, removing the pavement wouldn't be a big item to do, but to do anything more to it, like adding a BMP, that wasn't part of any of the budget funding, so, and it would require some design, so if you're doing, if the idea would be to do some type of detention pond there, you'd want to do test pits to see where the high water table is, and
Why would we be doing a detention pond sort of in the,
Well, maybe we wouldn't necessarily need a detention pond at that site, but just generally, we do need to be picking sites. I mean, that one it's super low lying, so that's probably not ideal for that spot. But I mean, that one we might maybe just want to naturalize, and that could still be a BMP. It would just be,
a low-impact design?
yeah. You're basically just converting, in this case, it would be the easiest, you're just sort of converting impervious to kind of I mean, this is just a possibility. I'm not
Can the town
designing anything for
take
them.
credit for that, doing that as a BMP?
Yeah.
Is there any reason why, as part of this project, that we couldn't, one, take credit for it, and two, get that pavement ripped up in the most sensitive area? Is there-
we could look at ripping up the pavement I mean, depending on, if it's just a seed mix, I mean, we could rip it up and put down some seed mix. If it's any kind of, if it's any type of infiltration structure or anything that involves design, soil analysis, it's not, drainage improvements wasn't really part of the demo.
We might need to think about that a little. I wouldn't want them to just jump into that without making sure that is the right site for just renaturalization. While it sounds great.
First of all, we're talking about two areas. We're talking
Yes,
about
we
that
are.
area on the side, right next to, is that Vine Brook there? No, it's just a stream. Is that Vine
It's a
Brook?
tribute, well,
It's a tributary.
yeah,
Yeah.
it may have been the original Vine Brook, it's hard to say. It's
Okay,
been
but
so
there's a stream, there's a
relocated.
stream there on the left-hand side.
Yes.
And so, if it's easier for you to say, okay, Brian, to simply look at ripping it up and putting in a grass seed, I think most of the commission would consider that a substantial improvement. Right?
Oh, yeah, better than pavement, right?
So, if that's all we can get at that portion of the site,
Did you want to mention that it might
for now,
or nearby? Because that.
Yeah, so I'll get into that. Yeah, so this, just, I guess, to entertain the other item that I was going to mention. So it predates me, but I know as part of the permitting for the DPW facilities, there was an observation platform.
wildlife viewing platform.
That was asked for during that whole process. Originally, what the plan was, I believe, to look at building that in where the employee parking lot is for the new DPW facility at One Great Meadow.
That's what that picture is, because I didn't know you had another.
Okay. There's not much parking there, it's tight. One of the areas, there's already underground drainage infiltration chambers, I believe. So trying to construct something near around that would possibly interfere with future maintenance of those. And then it's pretty wet, and in order to build something, it's going to be pretty intrusive into the water.
Or which one? The one that on the right, the one in the picture on the right?
Yes.
Yep. So it can be done, it can still be done. However, what we came up with a thought, once the building was down, once we had an idea visually of how much space that the dog pound has, the dog pound doesn't need the entire fenced-in area for the functions that it's going to use. And so it's already a disturbed area, and so roughly where the building is, and we can tuck it back a little bit more, but still within the chain link fence that's already there. We were thinking that perhaps this would be a better site for a raised
Well,
deck.
the first question is, one, the existing visibility, and the second issue is how high the elevation of the platform has to be so you can see stuff.
Yep.
And
You might
how-
need to consider ADA accessibility to it also.
So, I guess you'd have to look at each site you're considering and look at
So
making it ADA and how high it would have to be unique to that spot, and then decide financially maybe which way is better.
yeah, I mean, that's why we were thinking this, we were factoring on all that. There's a lot of room to build a ramp. So actually, what I was going to do very shortly was reach out to the commission and schedule a site visit to see what your thoughts were, if you think that site is more appropriate, better views, less disturbance to the wetlands, and then discuss. And if you don't like the site, if you'd rather, we can revisit putting it back at the old site. But part of the reason, part of the idea here is we also think there might be room for parking, so that there's parking right next to the area.
So as one of the issues, you don't want to, in the other site, you'd be taking up existing employee parking, and that would make be a problem. Is that true?
Well, it depends on how many people use it. I mean, it presumably could if there's a lot of people using it. There's not a lot of extra spaces during work hours. We could still use it as overflow if we can fit a few spots on where some of the existing pavement is, and that helps mitigate that, and then have possibly a walking path through the wooded area over to the employee parking lot and use that as overflow. We were thinking that could be a possible option. And we were kind of in the process of entertaining this idea, and if you'd like to look at it further, the area where that we were talking about ripping up the pavement, if the platform were to go here, that area perhaps may be needed to accommodate some spots or reconfigure the fencing, or, possibly not, but, it would involve some design, some survey, getting some,
All
put an
right,
actual
so
footprint down.
let's focus for a moment. We have an RDA on the table, and it's a request to knock down a building that's already been knocked down. Eileen, can we incorporate as part of this RDA the removal of the asphalt on the left-hand side? And just,
Well, we could, and I would like to, and I know you all would like to. I'm just going to suggest that what Brian is suggesting is that he would like to invite you out for a site visit and just keep some options open, I think, so that we could put something, is it approximately where I have the pointer now, that there might be some kind of platform sort of thing there?
Yep.
And maybe that extra spot there could be used
so
for
the
parking.
asphalt might be useful as part of the
That's-
platform,
Right, and that's what well, no, not so much as the platform, but possibly for parking.
for parking?
But if they decide they don't need that much parking, then we could definitely, what do you think?
So the thing is, to install the platform, they're gonna have to file a notice of intent. And so you can review all this under that filing.
That's true.
Okay. And so,
But I think for now, it would be, a good interim measure to have them put some sort of a meadow seed mix or something there right now. So it's kind of a more
Where the
natural.
building was.
Where the building was.
Where the building was.
So it's a bit more, naturalized, something a little bit closer to what's out, the wetland vegetation that's out there. And then we can have our site visit and consider about next steps. But that would be a good interim
So
measure.
the area on the left with the asphalt, we'll table that for now because it might play a role.
Yes.
The area in back about restoring a few feet to a more naturalized thing beyond grasses, maybe we should table that as well because it might factor
That might in
into,
fact become your platform.
might factor in there. Is
Yeah.
that what everyone is saying?
I think so. And if that goes forward then, as John said, it'll be an NOI and you've got plenty of scope then.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah?
good. How does the commission feel about that? We'll table all of this stuff until we know what we're doing with the wildlife viewing platform, and all this corollary stuff will then be brought in and we can discuss it. Does that sound good to you, Brian?
Yes.
All right.
I had one other question, Mr. White. Is the well field currently functioning or has it been shut off now?
It's not, Vinebrook hasn't run into the system since last November. So we have to run it because it's still considered an active treatment plant according to DEP. So they still require testing, monthly testing. And so we do have to fire it up, produce samples, sample it until we go through the permitting process to actually decommission it. The wells will still be active for that purpose, but it hasn't gone into the drinking water distribution system since November.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone else have any further questions on this RDA? Okay, anyone in the audience have anything further? All right, so we have a draft negative conditional determination. It's a draft, we'll review it, then vote it, and then you'll be all set. Okay?
Okay, Brian got a copy of this earlier, so hopefully he's had a chance to have a quick look. The applicant proposed to demolish an existing 900 square foot building, leaving the foundation in place and filling the foundation cavity with crushed stone. An area formerly used to store containers was to be replaced with a concrete pad, approximately 8 by 40 feet, surrounded by chain link fence, while the remaining storage area was to be restored to a pervious surface. Conservation Administrator permitted demolition to commence prior to the issuance of the determination, but not until after the RDA was submitted and erosion controls were installed and inspected. This work was within BLSF, riverfront area, and the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. Given the small scope of this project, the Commission is finding that the work would not detrimentally affect the BVW or riverfront area, and that the conversion of impervious area to pervious vegetated surface, especially so close to protected resource areas, may constitute an improvement. So this determination is for work only as described at 2 Great Meadow Road, and we are proposing that prior to beginning any construction, sedimentation barriers shall be installed and inspected, and that already happened, and the barriers are still in place. No trees within the buffer zone or the 200-foot riverfront area may be removed under this determination. The filled foundation shall be planted with conservation seed mix or something to be agreed upon right now. All construction, demolition materials, and excavated soil shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. I think everything's gone. No stockpiling of soil or other materials. Whatever was temporary. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed. No filling or grading under this decision, and members of the Commission or their representatives may be allowed on the site. So the only question is, are you okay with just something like a conservation seed mix, or do you want different wording?
As an interim solution to the problem until we get the other details with the viewing platform sorted out, it would seem that the commission should be satisfied with that seed mix. Okay. All right. All right, so is there any further comment from the commission? Could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the work proposed at 2 Great Meadow Road under Burlington Bylaw, Article 14, and the State Wetlands Protection Act?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? 7-0-0.
No.
Nope.
I do not vote in favor.
Oh, you're not voting, okay, so
No,
you're,
I am voting no.
no, okay.
May I explain why? I think this building as designed
Yeah.
allows raw pet waste to be washed directly into the resource area. And these are animals that are stressed out, maybe not healthy. It's not always going to be something you can pick up in a bag. And the only way to clean those is gonna be to hose them out. There's no other way. And they're not able to contain that, it's gonna go straight into the wetland. So I would vote no for this project because of its impact on the resource area.
All right. Before we vote that, then, let me ask Eileen or John or Brian, is there anything that can be done to mitigate Bill's concern? I think it sounds like yes.
Are the animals always going to be either in the building or within the confined, that concrete area?
Yes.
Maybe they could, like, just dig a little, like a drainage trench kind of thing, just on this side of the concrete, you know, with just like a drain cover. So any hosing would go in there and not run off. So would a simple measure like that do?
Well, it
With
would
just
allow
stone or
some
something?
natural biological
Yeah,
treatment of it, I assume,
would.
before it hit the wetland. Inside the building, there are enclosures planned also for the animals. Do they have drainage?
There are no floor drains for those inside, no.
For those either?
The exterior is covered, so there won't be any rainfall to wash it out. So the condition could be to scoop it up.
But I mean, how would you clean it for, like I said, urine or stuff that isn't scoopable? Inside the building even, you gotta be able to wash it out somehow. And yet there's no floor drain. Again, I don't think that's a good design for a dog pound.
It sounds like we have a flaw in the proposal.
Well, before Bill influences your vote, you're voting on demolishing a building, not approving the dog pound. That's not what the project you're voting on is, so just as a reminder.
Thank you, John.
There is no application for there's no part of this application for the construction or the redesign of the new building for its application on this site?
The concrete enclosures were part of this.
Okay, the concrete enclosures.
All right, well, here's, all right. Here's my suggestion. Brian, we're going to be working out details to the left and how it might interact with the viewing platform, to the rear and how it might interact with the viewing platform and restoring the area. Could you add one more thing to the list? Okay, and that would be that as part of the proposal, come up with some type of, and I don't know what you're gonna do about inside the building, but outside the building, it seems to me that some type of, there might be in the design literature, some type of trench arrangement along that concrete that could be provided, that would provide some treatment for it, and for pet waste. I don't know the details, the mechanics of how you would do it, but it would certainly, you might be able to do something that's an improvement over washing it onto the surface, and then the rain just carries it away. Could you take that as an action item?
Sure. And I will clarify, the inside, there's no floor drains directly in the cages, but there is one, I mean, it was a garage, so there is a floor drain inside that stuff can be swept to.
And where does that go to?
That's the next question.
Uh,
Out the back door.
There's no as-built on it, so
Could we,
outside of excavating and hammering out the concrete slab in the floor and finding out where it goes,
well, let me ask
So
you,
you could put a tracer in it and see if at least if it does go into the sewage system. If it doesn't, then it's obviously not.
well, also, don't you do, have companies that do camera work every so often? It may not be cost-effective to have them come in and do that, but if they're doing some, in the near term, some camera work on pipes elsewhere, you might be able to add a little scope of work to, hey, tell us where this pipe goes.
yep, we could look into that. And then operationally, perhaps it's hose it off to the inside so that it goes to the drain rather than hose it out into the yard.
Maybe, but you don't know where, you have to know where it goes first. Right. So anyways, would you be able to take all of that as an action item, all three things, and we'll just put it on the table for a later date, and maybe we can view what we're voting on is the raising of the building and the planting of the grass seed. does that sound?
No, it would have to be, the wording would have to be changed, and that part about the cement platforms would have to be stricken from it, right?
What would be, sorry? What would have to be?
As worded, doesn't it also include approval of the cement platform?
Yes, in that part of the project was the replacement of the storage tankers or whatever they were, sorry, dumpsters with concrete, yes.
Whatever you want to do.
That was part of the project.
I'm not trying to convince you.
No, I'm just, I've got nothing against approving the demolition of the building that's already gone and replacing that with permeable surface. I'm all in favor of that. It's just that I don't see how you can approve a dog pound or design a dog pound without considering dog waste.
But we're not approving it.
Well, somebody should.
Yeah, I think,
Board of Health get involved with this?
I think that's gonna be,
Look at it.
that's gonna be, I think
It's-
the dog pound,
Dog pounds, I think it's state
handling of
regulated.
pet waste, I think is going to be on the agenda along with the viewing platform, that whole site, retrofit to the site.
Perhaps, as Ingrid just mentioned, maybe the Board of Health
Board
would
of
be
Health?
more
Yeah.
appropriate for that.
I wonder if the Board of Health has something about
Yeah,
kennels.
the Board of Health may have something to say about either how to do it or that they do need something done. So can we agree, I mean, you folks at DPW said when we did the recreation and maintenance buildings, said that you didn't want to include the viewing platform, and you said you wouldn't forget it, and you didn't forget it, so we appreciate that. Can we add that as an action item, that we will deal with the issue of pet waste and the site modifications that we've talked about?
Yep,
That sound good?
yep.
All right, so,
Just a question.
yes,
Do they have to go to the Board of Health for this or no?
I'm not sure.
but they will. You'll talk to
I,
them.
yeah, I'll talk to them. My understanding is that, dog pounds, canine facilities are regulated by state agency.
But maybe you can
But I'll
get in
check with
touch
Board
with
of Health.
Susan Luminella, who's the Director of Public Health.
Sure.
And maybe at least she should be aware of that we discussed it here as far as that issue.
Raising the question. All right.
All right, so we have, notwithstanding how everyone's going to vote on this, we have a negative conditional determination. We have a motion on the floor to approve.
You actually voted.
Yeah, you
What?
voted, it was,
You already voted.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Bill voted
6-1.
against, and that's okay.
And, okay, so we're leaving it stand at 6-1? All right, so the vote was 6-1-0. Okay. All right, so I guess we're all set for now and to be continued. Thank you very
I'll
much.
reach out, just try to schedule a site walk.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good night.
Excellent.
Okay, now we're on item 6B. Notice is given that the commission will hold a public meeting during which time we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Anro Tabaji for the proposed demolition and filling of an in-ground swimming pool within the riverfront area and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands. The project is located at 116 Drake Road in Burlington, and the application's being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. So, Mr. Tabaji, are you here? Oh,
Good
you are
evening.
here. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Tabaji, good evening, everyone.
Tabaji, okay. It's good to see you, and you're located at 116 Drake Road.
Yes, we are.
All right, so you're our guest, so you get, if you would like to say any summary of what you're in the process of doing?
Yeah, the pool hasn't been open for 15 years. We saw no reason to keep it there, so we decided that we would demolish it and fill it in and create a backyard for an unused pool. So that was what we applied to do.
All right, very good summary. All right, John or Eileen, do you have any comments for us?
I think I'm just going to do another quick one. So I'm just going to share a couple of pictures just to describe. So Andrew was quite surprised that to be sent over to conservation and to discover that Eileen was going to require him to do an RDA because the stream is kind of a little bit out of sight from their property because of the slope. The stream is, there's a tributary at the back of his property, which his wife actually explained to us yesterday, seems to have moved over the years, which sometimes happens with streams. But anyway, there's wetland, there's a stream nearby, there's bordering vegetated, there's BLSF, but his proposed pool work was within the buffer zone to those various resources. I told him since it was going to be an improvement to the resource area, even though he required a filing, that he could go ahead with the demolition as long as he put up erosion controls. So I just wanted to show you that he did put up the erosion controls against the fence. They were still visible yesterday. That was it from before the pool came down. Then that was it a little while later when the pool was gone. It's stable looking. He's waiting to get some landscaping in grass or plants, which whoever wins that battle, apparently it's going to be grass or plants. And that's it. There was some just blowing, he's been blowing leaves kind of over the edge, and I asked him to not do that. And this was just the outfall that's actually at the edge of his property. So I have no issue with the pool coming down. And again, a bit like at Great Meadow, it's replacement of impervious and a pool with pervious surface. So it's an improvement.
All right. Anybody on the left? Kent or Indra? Anybody? No. Bill?
Nope, no comments.
Okay. Sarah or Rob or Ed?
Couple of things to, we had the shed, you kind of confirmed that the piping that's coming out is not a drain pipe, nothing's hooked up.
Correct.
Further over to that area, I suspect that it's all the old pool tools for cleaning pools and whatnot.
Everything from the shed was removed by the contractor, so the shed is empty.
Okay, I'm talking about right on the ground. There's coverage over what looks like pool tools of some sort.
Okay, I'm a little confused.
As we walked down the driveway, that would have been on the right next to your neighbor's line. Yeah.
That was for a pool, the solar cover, and I'm looking for somebody to want
Okay,
that.
so that's something you have to get rid of, right?
Oh, okay.
That's all I had.
All right. All right. I have nothing further. It looks fine what you've proposed here. Anybody else have a comment on it? No? All right. So we have a draft negative conditional determination, which puts up a few standard conditions, which you've already put up the erosion control and so forth, and we'll just review it and approve it, and you'll be on your way.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the applicant proposed to fill in an in-ground pool, leaving the patio surround, and to seed the former pool location with grass. As explained, we allowed the construction work to commence before the issuance of a determination, but not until after the RDA was submitted and erosion controls were installed. The work was located within the riverfront area to Sawmill Brook and the 100-foot buffer zone to a BVW. The pool was approximately 60 feet from the wetland and 75 feet from Sawmill Brook. So the decision is for only the work as we described. They were required to put up erosion controls, which they did immediately. All construction materials and excavations, soils should be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. They did. No stockpiling of soil within 50 feet of wetlands. There wasn't any stockpiling that I'm aware of. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways. The bit that's in yellow is just that the homeowner said he shall cease dumping yard waste behind the existing fence. And he'll remove any yard waste that did fall down into the wetland, so I'm not sure how you can manage that. And no filling or grading on the property beyond what is required for the approved work, and no future, he won't dump the grass and leaves down the slope in the future. That's it.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? Could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project at 116 Drake Road under Burlington Bylaw, Article 14 and State Wetlands Protection Act?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? 7-0-0. All right, you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is item 6C. Notice is hereby given, the commission will hold a public meeting during which time we have a request for determination of applicability filed by the Mass Department of Transportation Highway Division for pavement restoration and safety and complete streets improvements within the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetland along Cambridge Street in Burlington, from 50 feet south of Birchcrest Street to the Billerica line, and will thereafter issue a determination of applicability. The application is being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Chris Lyman from Howard Stein Hudson. We are the design representative for Mass DOT. I was the lead civil designer for the project. I'm also joined by Erica Lardner from Mass DOT. She's a wetlands coordinator for Mass DOT.
Good evening, folks. Thanks so much for having us.
Sure. Would you like to give a summary of what you're doing? Keep in mind that some people probably were not in on the Zoom call that you folks ran, where you described this whole project. So you might want to just somehow capsulize briefly what this project is going to do for Route 3A.
Yep. So the project crosses through both Billerica and Burlington. It's roughly 3.2 miles. It stretches from the Paul Newman Bridge in Billerica, just past the Burlington High School entrance. We had our meeting with the town of Billerica last week. The Conservation Commission got a negative determination for their jurisdictions of wetland resource areas. For this part of Burlington, there is 3 resource areas. The overlook of the entire project involves milling overlaying of the existing street, along with sidewalk and pedestrian curb ramp reconstruction for ADA compliancy. There's also driveway reconstruction. It's just the aprons of the driveways, anything that's within Mass UT state highway layout. We are also adjusting all catch basin drainage structures to the proposed level of the roadway, which is the existing elevation of the roadway today. We will also be putting in silt sacks on all catch basins within the project limits. There, in the town of Burlington, there is 3 resource areas where the project passes through. The first one being at Edsel Drive on 3A, and the resource area is located on, I believe, the south side.
Are there any particular plans you'd like me to share while you're talking?
Yeah, you can have them on there.
Well, I've got the supplemental info.
Yeah,
That's
if you'd like, oh, I'm so sorry, Eileen. If you'd like, I have it ready and available. If it's okay for you, I could happily share it for you while Chris is
That's okay. We might just have to give you permission to share, but that would be fine.
Great, thanks.
I think John has just given you permission now. Oh, am I sharing? No, I'm not. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. I just thought a visual would be good.
Yep, no problem.
This is where Route 62 comes in. This is the wooded wetland here.
Yep.
This is the church here.
Okay, I think you can share. You can share.
That's. Or if you want to look at past the cut, look at it. Oh, you have, put a picture past the cut. Okay, so.
Yep, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. So as I said, the first resource area I'll be talking about is a tributary to, I believe, the Shawshene River that crosses under Burlington 3A. It seems there's some sort of culvert that goes under Burlington 3A. Could not find the other end of it, but I did find the southern end of it. There is no work happening within the resource area itself. All the work happening within the buffer zone of that area is sidewalk reconstruction. The sidewalk in this location is currently in a rough condition and is 4 feet wide. We're proposing to widen the sidewalk to 5 feet towards the roadway. So there'll be no extension of the sidewalk towards the resource area. Instead, it'll extend into the landscape area between the roadway and the sidewalk to 5 feet for ADA compliancy. Also in this area, we'll be doing milling and overlaying of 2 inches for pavement rehabilitation. And again, I said there will also be some driveway reconstructions of driveway aprons to match the new roadway surface. In this area, we'll also be proposing hoods for catch basins within the buffer area.
I think we are waiting to see about that from the project manager in terms of buffer budgeting, and that if we have funds for that is absolutely part of the plan. But the project manager said that we need to ensure that we do have the funds to follow through with our promise. So sorry.
Erica, we're not seeing your plans if you're sharing something.
I'm so sorry. Actually, it is still saying I'm not able to. Yeah, so sorry.
Okay, well, I made you a presenter, so maybe I'll just set it so anyone can share. Okay, now anyone can share, so hopefully
Okay,
you
should be okay
can,
now.
and there's no
Hopefully
Zoom.
people will behave themselves, right?
Right.
Yeah. Hopeful. Aren't it's incidents again lately, so.
This is all.
Okay, thank you. We can see your screen now.
Perfect.
Yep, so for that first resource area, by extending the sidewalk from 4 feet to 5 feet, there will be a addition of 349 square feet of impervious surface to within the buffer zone to extend that sidewalk from 4 feet to 5 feet for ADA compliancy. If Erica, if you can go to construction sheet 12, you have that available.
Let's see. That's 31. So we're going to 12.
Yep, construction sheet 12, please.
Correct one?
Yep, so there you can see there on the right side of the plans there, that is the buffer zone. It's shown gray out here, but that's the buffer zone that we're within. And there's a sidewalk on the southern side. You can see that's being reconstructed. There is no sidewalk reconstruction on the northern side of the street for this section of roadway. And then,
Excuse me, is this a 200-foot buffer zone, riverfront buffer zone? On this, in the Etzel Drive area? No? Okay.
yeah, wetland, yeah, bordering vegetated wetlands. So it's a 100-foot buffer zone. Eric, if you can go to the next construction sheet.
Got it.
And then if you look on the left side, this is the other side of this buffer zone. It just got split between the two sheets here. But in this area, you can see that there's only sidewalk reconstruction, as I said, from 4 to 5 feet, and then milling and overlaying, and then some driveway reconstruction of existing driveway surfaces on the north side, and then just on the edge of the buffer zone on the south side. And then the next resource area for this project, Erica, if you go to construction sheet 16.
Got it.
So in this location at Wilmington Road, there is 2 resource areas, one on the southern side of the street and one on the northern side of the street. Again, within these buffers, there's no work happening within the resource area itself. There's only work happening within the buffer zone. In these areas, we again are reconstructing the sidewalk to meet ADA compliancy, along with redoing pedestrian curb ramps at the Wilmington Road and Route 3A intersection for ADA compliancy. And there'll be milling and overlaying along that stretch of roadway also. For the first buffer zone, which is on the southern side.
At the top of the drawing or the bottom of the?
At the bottom of the drawing, yes. There will be increase in 197 square feet of impervious surface from bringing the sidewalk from 4 feet to 5 feet wide for ADA compliancy. And then on the northern buffer zone, which is on the top of the drawing sheet, there is 907 square feet increase in impervious surface, again, by widening the sidewalk from 4 feet to 5 feet. Also on this upper side, Erica, if you
think 4 feet to 5 feet, is it 4 or 5?
So the current existing sidewalk is 4 feet wide. We're increasing it to 5 feet wide to meet ADA compliancy.
From 4 to 5.
From 4 feet to 5 feet.
Oh,
yes. So yeah, existing is.
I thought you were going to 4 feet.
No. Existing is 4 feet wide. The existing sidewalk there is 4 feet wide. We're proposing to reconstruct it to a 5 foot wide sidewalk.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. If you look again, Erica, if you can go to the next construction sheet, please.
Got it.
So the only real change here that caused some of this increase in impervious surface is we're also including a proposed bicycle ramp at this intersection because of our analysis, it being a potentially unsafe place for bicyclists to enter the intersection itself. So we find it safe to give them an option to go up onto the sidewalk just at this specific location for them to be able to walk their bicycle across Wilmington Road, just because it's a very unsafe area for bicyclists to be going through this intersection.
Especially with a lot of right.
The amount of turn movement there is to the right. Yes, correct.
So you're going to have a ramp for them to go on the sidewalk?
Yes, to go up on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Throughout this entire project, within the buffer zone, we are proposing sediment control barriers either at the back of sidewalk or at the back of limits of grading, along with silt sacks throughout the entire project at all catch basins within the project limits. We find this to parts of the work for within the buffer zone to be minor activity, and we're requesting that you guys vote potentially on a negative determination for this project. And then Erica, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yes, just a quick few things to let you folks know that the resurfacing and repaving, all of these activities themselves are generally minor exempt activities that we wouldn't file for, but the increases in approximately just under $1,000 just under 1,500 square feet. I think I did the math right, of impervious area within the buffer is not a minor exempt activity, and that is why we're here filing. Additionally, I wanted to let, I'm going to stop sharing real fast because I need to read my notes. And additionally, Eileen had asked a couple of questions asking about the interconnections with the stormwater discharges and whether or not it was connecting with Burlington's MS4. And we did have some preliminary mapping done along that area. It's very preliminary data. And there appears to be 17 potential interconnection points between Mass DOT and the town of Burlington's stormwater sewers, the MS4 system. Of those, 14 of them are actually Burlington directing towards Mass DOT services, and 3 of them outside of the buffer zones are potentially directing from DOT towards Burlington. So this work should not increase any of the burden that Burlington holds for the MS4 and its stormwater. And in terms of whether or not we sample our outfalls, Mass DOT doesn't sample their stormwater outfalls. There's so many factors involved in terms of whether or not the water quality sampling data would be appropriate, from storm duration, intensity, the dry periods, and the intense scope and scale of the roadways. And that, as we're went to go look at the data for the interconnections, it became very clear a lot of these roadways were developed prior to any of this record keeping being done appropriately or easily accessible. So we are oftentimes making some guesses about where these things are in systems that are over 100 years old. So I think those were the main questions that Eileen had wanted to make sure that we address. And if there's anything else that came up, please don't hesitate to ask.
Well, we will. Okay, thank you.
Stormwater sounds like.
John, Eileen, do you have comments for the commission?
Yeah, so that was actually my question. One of my questions.
Take it, I'll take it.
Yeah, but it came from me. The other question that I asked at the same time was whether there was any room in the right of way for street tree plantings, which I think the commission would certainly appreciate.
And I think that our group is the wetlands group, and we all would also like to have that happen. And we did actually try to push it and see if we could. There's actually no room within the right of way to have the streets on there, to have the trees in. So we did check with the project manager about whether that was a feasible option, because if we could make it happen, we'd like to, but there wasn't space to put it. The landscaping group already took a look and to see what they could fit in, and they weren't able to fit trees in the right of way.
Yeah, one concern of this project that we had from the beginning was that we had to do all work within the existing right-of-way. We couldn't have any work outside of the right-of-way. And unfortunately, there is only a small landscape buffer between the roadway and the sidewalk at this time.
So you're not taking any property?
No, there'll be no takings of a property or easements needed. All work is happening within the state highway layout.
But are there not areas where you're narrowing the road?
We are not narrowing the curb to curb width. It's just there'll be striping changes to the roadway, but there will be no change in curb to curb width of the roadway.
How wide is the landscaping strip you described that's not wide enough for trees?
It's roughly 2 feet along the corridor. There is some areas where it goes up to 3, but it's not much wider than that.
Right now, there's often places where there's nothing at all. It's just asphalt curb road.
Yeah, correct. There is areas, but the places.
Different substantially along the corridor from how it is now, because I walk and jog along there and it's terrible.
So there's not areas where we're adding any landscape buffer. The only thing that will change is that we are taking some of that landscape buffer to widen the sidewalk, to make sure we're widening towards the roadway instead of towards the back of sidewalk, which is where Yep.
And any disturbed surface areas that are not in the impervious, if there's any of that landscape buffer that is disturbed during construction, it does get loamed over and reseeded with an upland grass seed mix. So there should be some improvements, at least in the appearance, the aesthetics along that end of, it will be restored to look attractive, but there isn't really space to add things with any kind of substantial root system, including the risks of utility lines and things underneath that they could get into. So it was really difficult to pass.
All right, John, are you all set?
No, so a couple things. So as I said, most of this project is exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act. The portions that aren't are considered a limited project where they're actually adding pavement. They're making the road wider. You can widen the road up to a half lane, I believe, or something like that as a limited project. And they're doing mill and overlay, not full depth reconstruction. So typically, if full depth reconstruction, you would require basically a total upgrade of the drainage system. And for mill and overlay, you typically don't. But you do usually ask for an inspection of all the catch basins, reports on like sump depths, conditions. All they're proposing right now is to replace the grates to make them more bicycle friendly, I think.
We also are carrying an item to rebuild certain structures as the contract goes into. So if there's certain catch basins that might be collapsed, there is an item within our estimate that covers for structures like that.
They'll all be inspected.
Yeah, the contractor will be looking through them because they'll have to inspect them anyways when they change out the grates it covers.
Is there any, sorry.
So it's a little disconcerting that their system and the town system, which we're responsible for sampling all these MS4 outfalls, and we're taking stormwater from this roadway apparently, and it's mixed with the town's stormwater. And these catch basins may not have 4-foot sumps, so they may not be doing a lot of treatment. It's unfortunate that they can't be upgraded at this time if they've got shallow sumps or sub 4-foot sumps, basically.
And I'm more than happy to take that back and
Let's talk a little bit more about it too. On the subject of drainage improvements, let's stand right there for a second. Anybody on the commission want to talk about, had questions or talk about that?
I think that, what John is suggesting is that they all be examined, and anything that is insufficient should be brought up to, current standards. That would be ideal.
So is that the intent? You said they're going to be inspected. So they're going to be inspected for structural stability, that they're okay? Or what are they inspected for?
The catch basins will be inspected for their structural integrity rather than upgrading to the highest standard of BMP possible. To do that would add many, many tens of millions of dollars to the project and make it infeasible at this pass.
Will you be documenting the
structural integrity? Yep.
I hear you, but will you be documenting the depth of the sumps in each catch basin?
I'm not sure if that's required in the contract. I can absolutely shoot you an email and let you know. I think that as it stands today, we are discussing about 1,500 square feet of additional impervious. I think it's entirely possible and appropriate to say that in those 3 specific locations, that it'd be something that we specifically document the depth of it to you.
Right. Okay. Let me ask you this. You're not going to put hoods in the catch basin. It may not have the money. You may not have the money. Is that what you said?
Currently, as the project is designed with the large expanse and the amount of catch basins, that it is not currently designed to add hoods in. The current design is really just a milling and overlay, 2-inch depth, no overhaul of stormwater. It is to add ADA accessibility. The 1,500 square feet of impervious is the larger concern. So in terms of potential impacts, that amount of runoff could be a potential to consider. But all of the interconnections in that area do go from Burlington towards DOT drainage. but no, we're not proposing to put hoods throughout the entirety of the project.
Okay, so is it correct to say the purpose of the hoods is to prevent oil from being discharged through the catch basin from the top layer? Is that the purpose?
To the best of my understanding, it's oftentimes more for debris and trash, but I'd like to ask if we have an engineer here to confirm or correct.
Maybe the project manager here would like.
Yeah, so the hoods are designed to do both. It's for debris and for oils coming from discharging.
Out the hoods, we're discharging oil into the municipal system that we're supposed.
From runoff from the roadway, that would be correct, yes.
So that's not a good situation, is it?
No, I also don't know if they are sump catch basins out there or not.
Okay, so.
The three interconnections that are heading towards your system, they are all outside of the resource area buffers. So
I understand that we only have jurisdiction over the resource area. Okay, so what I am asking, maybe I'm not being clear, is there certain catch basins that would be considered more environmentally sensitive, that if you only have very limited amount of money, that we can put in a request in those areas to upgrade those catch basins with at least hoods, so we're not having oil discharging through them?
This is Joe Yu, project manager at MassDOT. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Erica, and thank you, Chris, for explaining the project to the commission. In regards to the catch basins that are within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, yeah, I think make a fair point. We can definitely provide hoods to those catch basins.
So they're not discharging debris and oil to the wetlands?
Yes, I definitely do believe that hoods do help with debris and oil, and I'm in agreement with you. So it would be beneficial to put those in.
All right, so let's.
What jurisdiction do we have under erosion sedimentation outside of the wetland area?
So I believe Mass DOT is exempt from all local bylaws, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So they're not subject to our stormwater bylaws.
Although they tie into our stormwater.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate because if we detect something on an outfall and we have to trace it back, we could be tracing back into their system, which is unfortunate.
Okay, but they have agreed that in the areas that are most sensitive, which discharge to either that wooded swamp or the wetlands or the stream, we can get an upgraded catch basin somewhat. At least for the hood.
Yes, in the supplemental plans I did send you, I did propose doing hoods within the buffer zones already. And then if that's a condition of the negative term, that could be talked about with.
Let's go one step further. Would you have enough money to, if you don't have a deep sump catch basin, to put one in those few locations?
I don't believe it would, no.
That's correct, Chris.
Yeah, the funding for this has already been allocated for this fiscal year, so we can make like tiny improvements, as Joe was saying, like a couple of hoods for buffer zones, but anything that would require large upgrades to catch basins would require us to have to find other sources of funding, which isn't available for this project.
How easy is it to make a supplemental request for a modest amount? Is that?
We're essentially locked in at right around over $7 million for this project. The project is currently programmed to the statewide transportation improvement program at $7,900,000. Sorry, $7,009,000, and we are currently over that by $300,000. So it would be very difficult to ask for an amendment at this point.
All right. Okay.
We try.
I feel like we're being rebuffed. Okay. All right. Let me add just a little bit more description of the project, just for anybody who's watching. What are you proposing to do to create a bike lane? Is it a painted stripe, or is it any barrier or anything?
No, it's just painted stripes. So the only thing that creates the bike lanes within the roadway itself is pavement markings, so paint.
Just paint.
Just paint, yes.
So no, nothing sticking up as more of a,
No, there'll be no permanent or temporary structures within the roadway.
all right, and, you know, some of this is not related to what we have under our jurisdiction, but I think it's of keen interest to a lot of people. Are we getting sidewalks that are concrete or asphalt?
They're proposed HMA, so asphalt sidewalks.
Asphalt.
Yes. We're replacing in kind. So wherever there is concrete, we are proposing to replace with concrete, but wherever there is currently asphalt sidewalks, we're replacing with asphalt sidewalks.
How did Billerica get those nice concrete sidewalks up there?
So I know in Billerica, for the parts that we are also doing in Billerica, they are also only getting,
Their whole town center, they got these beautiful.
so I don't know how they got that. I know it's two separate projects, but it wasn't through this project.
They made nice curvy sidewalks, it's all concrete, it's gonna last forever. And Burlington gets asphalt.
Of course, but in your downtown area of Burlington, you also do have concrete in those sections. So by the shop, like, I think you have the grocery store there, that section of Burlington is, if there is getting concrete there, but anywhere where there was HMA, which is along like the more residential sections of the corridor, is HMA.
Near a Bromo pool where it's dirt, what are they getting?
Where's Bromo Pool?
Mass Glass, that sort of abandoned strip mall section.
Like a liquor store. Kind of dirt.
There's a liquor store there.
No, it's almost like rubble, so what are you replacing there?
So
before the car wash.
Yeah, that's like past where the that's kind of is it past where the new there was put a new building on a corner, I think. Is that kind of what you're talking about? It's past that.
Pontos, Great Pine.
Yeah, so that section would also be getting HMA. I can, if you look at the plans.
Here's God, word for asphalt.
Yeah, so if you look, you're talking about Pontos.
He's getting at least asphalt, nothing's getting.
Yeah, you're getting at least asphalt.
HMA.
Huh?
HMA stand for?
Hot mix asphalt.
Hot mix asphalt, thank you.
Okay, I guess you've answered.
Some sections, it is a drastic improvement, even if it's the one in front of Bramo and it's like dirt.
Yeah.
It's gonna be brought back up to be.
Yeah, I know there is extra pictures I did show of some of the existing sidewalks within the buffer zone. But especially like by Edsel, if you look at some of the pictures we have there, it is very broken up sidewalk, and it will be putting to at least brand new HMA sidewalk.
Okay. All right.
It's often side.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not sure of the rules of order here.
Well, we're gonna go around to everybody
that's
anyway.
fine. I'll
so-
wait till the.
Okay, I was just going through, I was talking because I was trying to get to finish the description of, so people would understand what we're getting.
There'll also be updated bus stops also. So
Upgraded what?
Upgraded bus stops. So
Upgraded bus stops.
yeah, and that will be concrete for ADA compliance. Yeah. So where there's current bus stops now, we are proposing concrete bus stops at those locations.
All right, John, anything further on this? All right, so well, let's go around to Ed. Do you have any?
We're already burned out trying to figure all this out. No, I haven't got anything to add.
Okay, Rob?
Okay, so curbing is granite or asphalt?
So we're not changing any curbing more where there's vertical granite curb, but where there is sections of HMA curb where it's damaged by the milling and overlaying process, we are carrying an item to replace that HMA curb. We're not replacing all HMA curb for the project, but areas where we do where there's potential damage from the milling operations, we are carrying an item to fill in those sections of curb where it's damaged from the milling process.
So I think there were certain, like after winter and snow plows, there've been times when there's 1 to 2 foot pieces, the asphalt curbing sort of ends up on the sidewalk and the street. So those will be places where the curbing is like missing.
Yep.
What is the problem?
It's damaged. Not in all locations, only if it's damaged. So if there's locations where it's currently not any type of curbing existing right now, we won't be adding curbing. It's only in areas where there's damaged
Or if it's in
I think he
bad
means
shape.
damage.
Existing damage?
Yeah.
Joe, that might be something you can answer. I know we're not calling out specific areas where it's damaged right now existing. But it's up to the contractor who's out there. If he sees that, he's damaging it from the milling process, we are carrying on for him to fix it. So it could be if there is like a section of sidewalk where it just gets removed from the milling process, he could replace it with some stretch of HMA.
So did I hear you correctly that if there's areas where there's no curbing, just dirt, that's what we're going to get from the state? There's no curbing?
Correct, and you'll get loam and seed to replace that area. So it might be like dirt there now, it will be replaced with loam and seed, but if there's no existing curbing there right now, you will not be getting proposed curbing in those locations.
But there was curbing, but maybe it's in pieces and some people tried to reassemble it, or it's been sort of destroyed.
Yep. I know. So like, I know we're carrying an item for it for a certain quantity for it. So I know it's going to be up to the contractor's discretion about where he uses that item. We're not specifically calling, the only areas we're specifically calling out, like new curbing is at bus stops and pedestrian curb ramps. But we are carrying an item. I believe it's 25% of the project length is what we're carrying for HMA curb to replace.
And then like I'm very familiar with the area. Right across from Ed's Drive.
Yep.
Right next to 369 Cambridge Street. So there's sort of the narrow sidewalk, the asphalt sidewalk is not in very good condition. And if you take it's like less than a foot off the sidewalk, there's about a 5-foot drop that goes down where there's there's a culvert, maybe like a.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Culvert.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that area in particular, I think one of the drains right by there that has that sort of the cross, it's not great. It has like it clogs up sort of all the time. So I think if you were, I'd like you can see oil in that little the sheen on top. So I think anything that's probably one of the very sensitive areas. So I think if you can look at the hood, probably near that drain.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that I travel that sort of sidewalk all the time. Is that there's a couple of places along the asphalt sidewalk on the south side where there's utilities. I'm not sure if it's like gas piping or something that will actually stick out above a certain grade on the sidewalk as well. But so I just think for it's a trip hazard sort of where the pipes sort of coming up. So I think it's really great to have a flat sort of wider sidewalk.
Yeah, we are proposing to adjust all utilities that are being impacted by the project. So again, all the utilities within the existing roadway are being adjusted, and then any utilities that are within the existing sidewalk will be adjusted to the grade of the sidewalk.
Yeah. And I guess one thing I was sort of thinking about as well, I guess this is somewhat, it's a little bit out of the scope of the work, but we have there's a really steep hill coming down from the Burlington Center.
Yep.
And there's a lot of sort of water that comes down there and then comes down Terry Ave. And there's, we have a large catch basin in Terry Ave that sort of is one of the ones that's, I saw the DPW that cleans it out every 6 months or something. So I think I was thinking too, we've had so many of these storms with really high waterfalls that, when we're doing this, that, I don't know, but possibly bring up with, we have, I don't know if it matters at all for catch basins slightly further away from where the project might be happening, or no? Yeah. So.
Sort of.
Are you asking about them changing?
No, I guess for,
Because Terry Ave is probably ours.
yeah, that's way off, I think. So, yeah. So, I think that's all.
All right. right, Sarah, you have any?
Just some curbing questions. If I understand you correctly, if there is currently sort of no curb or broken up curb, what's going to be there now?
So we're not specifically calling out where we're putting new curbing or not new curbing. We're just carrying an item that's, I think it's roughly 25% of the project length for curbing, for HMA curbing. So it's going to be up to the contractor's discretion where he uses it. But I have a feeling that if there is currently curbing there now, at least sections of it, it's going to be damaged during the milling operation. So those will be sections potentially where he does use that item to at least put some curbing there. But I could say that where there's sections of where there's no curbing right now, he probably won't be putting in curbing. So it's really going to be up to the Mass DOT site engineer and the contractor to determine exactly where they want to use the curbing. I know a good section of the curbing will be used in Burlington because a lot of the curbing in Billerica has been redone, whether it was through them or it was through some of their ADA projects they've had done in Billerica recently.
Just from the complete streets, pedestrian-friendly angle, like I often find myself walking between Great Pines, going towards the town center on that side of Cambridge Street, and it is often like fairly difficult as an able-bodied person to walk there because there's a grade, it's HMA, it's rubble on it, there's overgrown stuff from people's yards that is not maintained. So you've got poison ivy tendrils reaching out to you, and then there's cars like going by about 18 inches away.
The cars don't get you the poison ivy.
It's pretty rough. Anything that could be done to make that better from a pedestrian angle would be lovely.
Yep, like Slow Richard.
Yeah, so we will be we basically did like an analysis of the sidewalk throughout the corridor, and we did pick the sidewalk that was in poor shape, along with sidewalk that also wasn't wide enough for safe access. So that was the main part of this project was maintenance. But the other part of it was to kind of focus on that complete streets view and that safety view to bring that at least some of that to the corridor. We'll also be at least adding accessible push buttons where there isn't push buttons by getting extenders so at least they can be reached from the pedestrian curb ramps.
It's just hard to imagine without taking some of people's yards, there just is no space between curb and somebody's wall. Like it's very limited.
Yep.
I guess that's just how it is.
All right, okay, so let's go to Kent. Do you have anything else on this? Indra, anything?
Yes, so did you say that all the catch basins within the project limit will be inspected and for the structural integrity?
So they'll be looked at when they come to adjust the structures themselves because we're replacing all, for the catch basin at least, we're replacing all of the grates of those catch basins to make sure they're bicycle safe catch basins basically, so they have the proper grates on top of them. So I'm assuming the contractor then will be at least looking at the structural integrity of the catch basin itself when they're doing that. And
if it is not good, then you're gonna replace or repair?
There's repair. We're carrying an item to rebuild for a certain amount of feet of catch basin. Yeah. So they'll, when they're going through the project, if there's like maybe collapsed, they'll look to potentially rebuild part of that catch basin.
Do you know of how many catch basins?
I do not know. Okay. It's might be 100. I might be I can't.
So you would inspect each of the catch basins?
They'll be at least looked at. I don't know how much they'll be inspected, because again they're going to be working on every individual catch basin to replace the framing grate. So it at least will be.
You are doing that asphalt overlay, so the elevation is not changing. You're not doing the full depth, right?
Correct, but we are adjusting and replacing the grates to make it bicycle safe.
Oh.
So no matter whether we're changing the grate or not, they will be adjusted because they have to replace all the grates, framing grates to the catch basins.
Okay.
Within the project limits.
Within the project.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill. Yes, John, you have
Just
something?
on that catch basin question, so I see some of them have like side inlets. Are those being eliminated? So there's water that doesn't go into the catch basin, it goes into that inlet?
The curb inlet there?
Yeah.
Those will not be eliminated, no.
Okay.
All right, Bill?
Well, I think the biggest limitation on this is that it's a state project. It's not a town project. We can't get everything that we would like normally to do in this because it's a state road, state funds, state design, and we have to work within the curb-to-curb limit, et cetera. So, I certainly appreciate you listening to what we're we would like to see and trying to incorporate as much of that as possible into your limitations that you have to work with. But it is very different from doing the things if we had our own DPW doing it. So we're stuck within that framework. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, and we did meet with the DPW, both Talent, Billerica, and Burlington DPW, and they did give us areas where they were concerned about sidewalk, and we tried to incorporate as much of that as possible into the project.
Could we talk about for a moment, the wooded swamp just past the car wash, the new car wash that's being built?
Yep.
And there's a wooded swamp, and there's a walkway right adjacent to it.
To it, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
How is that going to be left? Is there any, is the sidewalk going to be that close after construction to the wetland? Or is there any way of pulling the sidewalk a little bit over and leaving a little bit of grassed area or something like that? I mean, are you encroaching at all into the wetland at all?
No, we are not.
That you're not.
Yeah, there's not, for that section you're talking about, there's only a small section where we're actually replacing that section of sidewalk. It roughly runs from Wilmington Road, the intersection, and goes about, I'd say it's probably just about 300 feet of sidewalk on that side, up to the place where I talked about the bicycle ramp that ramps them up for the intersection. That's the only section on that side of the roadway where we're redoing the sidewalk.
So it's going to be a sidewalk in place, but it's going to be 4 feet wide?
So that section of sidewalk has a 5 foot wide sidewalk there
Has
already.
what?
Has a 5 foot wide sidewalk there already.
Okay.
We're just replacing that one section there to connect the ramp, the bicycle ramp, to the upgraded pedestrian curb ramp at Wilmington Road.
And is the bicycle pathway going to be marked as a bicycle ramp?
No, we're proposing for them to go up there for safety from the intersection, because again, from the right turning movements, if you're coming west down that roadway, there's a lot of right
What I'm
turn.
asking is the bicycle pathway with arrows or something, is it going to be marked for the bicycles to go onto the sidewalk for safety?
Yeah, so there's going to be, I believe in the roadway, there's going to be a mark where you can go there, but then after that, there's going to be sharrows in the road too. So bicycles can stay in the roadway if they prefer, but if they prefer to go up on the sidewalk, they can, and then walk their bike to the next bike lane. We're not trying to have people actually ride on the sidewalk. I know it's potential that it will happen, but we are offering sharrows in the roadway itself too. But we're just doing it for bicyclists' safety, because it is a potential intersection where if they're sitting in the roadway at the intersection, they can get hit by cars taking a right-hand turn there.
That may very well happen.
It will, but we're trying to give them the option to at least go up onto the sidewalk and at least seek refuge at that intersection and cross with the pedestrian signal.
All right, so the sidewalk at the wooded swamp
Yes.
is going to be exactly where it is now?
Yes, there's no widening of that sidewalk.
No
Bill.
widening, and there's no creation of a buffer additional next to the wooded swamp?
We're offering some loam and seed at the back where possible. There's also a guardrail right at the back of that too, so we can only go up to the guardrail. We're not trying to impact the guardrail itself either.
So where are you going to loam and seed?
So there is a little bit of space between that guardrail and that in the back of sidewalk there. There's a small location there.
Like 6 inches?
Yeah, it's not much. We're proposing that if it is touched there, when they're doing the small section of sidewalk there, about roughly 300 feet, that they can replace loam and seed there.
And that's because it already exists?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I guess I have nothing further. All right, so what's the, is there anyone who has a question in the audience about this at all? All right, so did we get a draft? No.
So, no, since we just got supplemental information yesterday, we didn't draft a decision.
Okay. All right. All right, so I guess we'll put you on for the next meeting, and we'll have a draft decision at that
Which we can
point.
share with you in advance. We can email you a draft.
I made some notes about things that we said should go in, like,
We'll just need the vote to continue.
that you're gonna put in hopes near.
All right, so the next meeting is September 14th. Can you make that meeting?
I can definitely make it. I don't know if Erica or Joe can make it.
All right, so,
If I'm personally unavailable, somebody else will be able to attend in my place.
all right, so we will, could I have a motion to continue the meeting of the 3A roadway improvements to September 14th, 2023? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
700. Okay, so you're continued to September 14th. We'll plan to close this out at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you all.
Very nice.
All right. Item 6D, notice is hereby given, the town of Burlington will hold a public meeting during which time we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Raul Ortega for the proposed installation of an in-ground pool within the 100-foot buffer zone of the bordering vegetative wetland. It's located at 47 Cresthaven Drive, and you will thereafter issue a determination. The application's being heard under the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. And you can obtain a copy of the application by email, by writing to conservation@burlington.org. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for your patience. I know it was kind of a longer wait than you anticipated.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
That's all
I'm
right.
I'm aware of that.
But you enjoyed every minute of it, right?
Oh, it was riveting. My name's John Luther. I work for Bonanno Construction, and we do all the excavating and earthwork for Bramo pools. Mr. and Mrs. Ortega at 47 Cresthaven have hired us to put a pool in their backyard. They're within the, part of the house is within the 100-foot buffer zone, part of it is not, but their backyard is all mostly within the 100-foot buffer zone. Our proposal would be, we would stay outside the 50-foot mark for the buffer zone, and then put the pool in pavers in that area. As we mentioned the other day at the walkthrough, that things change slightly when we start digging and people start seeing what they actually have. But we'll have a short retaining wall, and then to the back side of that towards the wetlands, that'll be the dogs area. That'll stay grass just like it is now. And they'd like to have the dogs run out there. And then to the front side of that will be where the pool and the pavers are.
Very good. Thank you for the summary. All right. John or Aileen, comments
Oh,
on
I
it?
wasn't sure. Yeah, I actually think John Luther gave a very good description there of what the resources are. I'm just sharing a little something. So this was from his RDA plan, and this was based on the, I'm sorry, the plan underneath was what was approved a couple of years ago when you approved a determination to build a house. So, as he said, most of the house was outside the buffer, but then the maybe back edge of the house and the grading required that this be a determination. So, as John said, they're proposing a pool in the backyard, which is going to be pretty substantial, 18 by 36 feet. And then we didn't really have the dimensions before, but we do now. The pavers are going to be about 10 feet around. So the total width, well, depth, I suppose, front to back of the property would be about 38 feet just for the pool and patio. And then, as he said, they're putting their retaining wall behind. So that's what he was saying. That isn't an absolute precise, they don't know exactly where that's going to go, but approximately at this line here. And since the property is already fenced in, I don't have any concerns about this affecting the resource area. These were just some pictures that we took from the back. I didn't actually include pictures of the fence here, but just to let everybody know, the fence has no gate in it, which you always appreciate because nobody's going to go through with wheelbarrow for dumping. And this, oh yeah, we didn't really explain. The deck that's already on the back of the house, that's actually going to be removed for this. And they're just going to have, I think, some small stairs.
Yes,
that kind of turn around and come
platform stairs, yes.
onto the deck. So this here is where the pool and the patio is going to be.
All right, thank you. All right, Ed, anything further on this one?
No.
Okay, Rob? Sarah?
No.
No?
No, everything is within that existing fence and lawn area, so I don't see any impact on the wetland at all.
Indra?
Is that retaining wall new or
Excuse
the
me?
retaining wall, is the existing retaining
No,
wall?
we'll be putting it in, about a foot tall, just to define the area.
And
More,
is
it's
it
more of
concrete?
aesthetics than anything
Concrete?
else. It's stone.
Oh, stone.
All right, Ken?
Thank you.
What are they doing around the pool? Is it like a full concrete pad?
No, pavers.
Oh, pavers.
Yeah, block pavers.
Just on one side of the pool or?
All the way, it'd be all the way around. all
Okay,
the way
that's the
around it.
10 feet.
Yeah, it'd be 10
around.
feet all the way around it, yeah.
And then they doing a fence like around the pool or is it?
No, because the fence is all,
Oh, the
yard
weight
is all
around,
fenced in
okay.
already,
All right,
so
right, yeah.
they don't do, they may do something to keep the dogs from jumping in the pool, I don't know that. That's, maybe later they'll do that.
All right.
Can I just point out that it's probably hard to see here, because on the whole, the yard seems quite flat, but there's a slight slope down towards the back, so they need to just kind of even that out a little bit. That's why they need the retaining wall, but it'll be very low. But they
Yeah, I
just need
see
to
it.
like
It's a little bit,
flatten it a little bit to make that, the pool and patio work.
Very minimal.
All right, thank you. I have no questions. So we have a draft negative conditional determination. We'll review it, vote on it, and we'll get you on your way.
Great.
Okay. Eileen?
Yeah, I, for some reason, didn't have it open and ready all that time we were waiting. I'm not sure if you recognize him, but John Luther used to work in the building department. That's why he's so familiar with me.
Years ago.
Used to work here?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was a building inspector.
Oh, you were?
I retired last June.
You were a building inspector here?
Yep.
Oh, wow. You retired?
I retired.
I think you've been at my house.
But,
That's what we have.
but you're not really retired?
No, I still do, I do fill-in building inspector work for other towns.
Oh, do you?
Like right now, I've been working in Winchester for the last 8 weeks. Their guy retired, so I filled in till I hired a new person, then I work for Bonanno,
Good for
chasing
you.
all their stuff.
Oh, good for you.
Because otherwise, I gotta stay home, at home with my wife, and she works at home, so
Get out of her way.
out the door.
There you go. That works for her.
She likes it more than I do.
Okay, so just to get back on track, the applicant proposed to install an 18 by 36 in-ground pool in existing lawn that would be surrounded by a 10-foot wide patio of pavers, and a low retaining wall would be built outside the patio to level the area around the pool. The grade of the rest of the yard will not be altered. It would be within the buffer to BVW and the 200-foot riverfront area of a stream regulated under the Burlington Wetland Bylaw only. I didn't mention that, it's actually in the way back, it's kind of off the edge of the property. It's about 150 feet from that stream. And a negative determination was issued in 2021 for a single-family house and associated grading. So this work is only for the pool work as described. Prior to beginning any construction on site, sediment barriers shall be installed and inspected. If you all think that's necessary, sediment barriers just across the property in front of the existing fence. It can be right against the fence, it can be closer to the pool, we won't really mind. But as long as you have plenty of room to work. And they shall remain in place while the work is being done and until the disturbed areas have been permanently stabilized. All construction or demolition materials and excavated soil should be disposed of off-site in a legal manner. No stockpiling of soil or other materials within 50 feet of the wetland. No tracking of sediments onto the public roadway, and if that happens, please sweep. No filling or significant grading of the property under this decision, other than as has been described with the 1-foot wall, obviously. All existing drainage patterns shall be maintained. I had left this in yellow because I had forgotten to ask it. Runoff in the paver surround shall drain to grass. Is that what's happening? You're not doing any special...
No, we just run into that grass and
This project shall not increase the rate of volume nor flood or storm damage to abutters. No chlorinated pool water shall be discharged to impervious surfaces that drain to the street nor within 20 feet of the wetlands. Don't dump anything behind the fence, basically, and don't use pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides within 100 feet of a wetland. And the commission may be allowed, or agents may be allowed on site to inspect the work while it's in progress.
if I may, just, we're gonna put a wattle all the way along the fence, so that if it rains like it has been lately, nothing will wash underneath it.
That works with, that's what the requirement is in number 2, so yeah.
Perfect.
All right, perfect. All right, any questions from the commission on it? Could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project at 47 Crest Haven Drive under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 in the State Wetlands Protection Act?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Ken.
All in favor? 7-0-0. Again,
Thank you.
sorry for the long wait. We
You're fine.
normally, the requests for determination don't go that way, but.
Yeah, that's
but-
fine. Nope.
But this one with, goes the whole length of Route 3A is kind of high interest.
Nope, I understand that, so, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John.
I'll get that from you later on.
Yeah, we'll be sending it out next, it's dated next Tuesday, so we'll be mailing it next Tuesday unless you want to pick it up.
I'll swing by and pick it up.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. All right. Next is a public hearing. Notice is given that the commission will hold a public hearing, during which time we take information related to a Burlington Stormwater Bylaw application filed by Lifetime Fitness for the expansion of the parking lot at 186 Middlesex Turnpike. The application is being heard pursuant to Burlington General Bylaw, Article 14, Section 6. The commission will review all information relevant to this application and therefore may issue a stormwater permit for the proposed activities. The application may be viewed on the Conservation Commission website, and if you go there, there is a link to that project. Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, sorry you had such a long wait as well.
No problem, well used to it. Not here. For the record, Connor Nagel with VHB on behalf of Lifetime Fitness. I'm sure the project is familiar to you. My colleague Frank DePietro was here about a month ago for an RDA for parking that had originally been land banked along Middlesex Turnpike.
Right, and this is different.
This is different.
Right.
This is additional parking within the existing parking lot adjacent to the building. So it's outside any resource area contained within the site. It's approximately 9,000 square feet of impervious area, about a net increase of 18 additional parking spaces. We are providing stormwater for that increased area that would tie to the existing system on site. The areas contained in the site in terms of stormwater runoff, so the existing catch basins would be protected with silt sacks. The perimeter of the construction would be protected with silt socks. And that's essentially the project, construction of some extra parking spaces.
Great, thank you for the summary. John or Eileen, you want to give us a rundown on comments?
So this is filed under the stormwater bylaw because it's, as Connor mentioned, it's outside of any resource areas. And unlike the area that you approved last time under an RDA, this was not a part of the original proposal. This wasn't land bank, so this is new construction that wasn't initially proposed. I guess I have a question. So there's actually two parking areas, correct?
That's correct, yes.
There's two part, what?
There's two proposed areas. There's one on the east side that's 19 spaces. Is that the 19?
It's 19 that are constructed, but the net gain of both areas is 18 because of some spaces that are lost in the
Eileen,
reconfiguration.
you want to blow it up into the areas that we're talking about, maybe?
Where's the second one? Oh, it's here, right?
Yes, that's correct. The 8 spaces on the top right of the page, the 5 and 3.
Let me zoom into the two spots separately so that they can see.
Yeah, it would be helpful if we could
Okay, so
focus on what area you're talking about.
do you
So,
want to just,
so could you just discuss that area now, the area with 5 and 3, the existing conditions and the stormwater, and the proposed stormwater
Sure.
improvements?
So that area drains to a catch basin I guess it's probably that darker spot just down from the numbers 5. Yes. And so this is an extension of those 2 rows where there's a little space to add some parking there. So the stormwater would go to the existing system, which, as we showed in the stormwater report submitted, the existing system has the capacity to take that. We're offsetting that with an additional system in the other area that would further detain water and bring down the peaks to maintain the peak runoff of the site and the compliance with the PDD that is over all of Northwest Park. So this is the other system here. That blue rectangle is about 20 StormTech chambers that would be beneath those parking spaces, and that is tied in to the large existing system, which would be just off the page or just off the screen as it's shown there.
Okay.
And so did the Board of Health witness the test pits there where that system is going? Do you know?
They did back when they were originally done, so this is based off the test pits that were done with the original construction.
So that's about it for me then.
All right. All right, let's see if people have questions or comments. Ed, anything on this one?
No, seems like what they're doing up top was they're preserving the vegetation that's there. So I really don't see anything wrong.
Okay. All right, Rob?
I guess nothing right now.
All right, Sarah?
The lower area is currently like a green, like a grassy lawn type area, right?
That's correct.
And is it now going to be just like paved, sort of abutting the building with no grassy at all, or?
There is a strip of landscape that would be left, and you can see that we're proposing plantings along the left-hand side of that area as you look at the plan, and some trees across the top, and trees and a landscape island all across the bottom there.
Okay, so sort of be like a strip of trees and a strip of trees over what is currently now just like a big
That's
green
correct.
square. Okay.
Yeah.
And there will be, those blue StormTech chambers are new? Those are currently nothing there?
That's correct.
Okay. Those are just my questions.
All right, Kent?
Just to be clear, how many spots, so what Sarah's saying, so when you walk in the building, you walk to there's that giant grass area. How many spots are going in there, just to be clear?
So there's a row of 19 across there.
Okay.
But the net total of all of this is 18, because down where the number 1 is, there's one space being restriped there, but there's a loss of spaces there to cut in, to drive in to those, and similarly on the other end to drive out, there's a loss of spaces there.
So pretty much, Sarah, other than like the strip of that, pretty much that entire grass section is going to be gone.
Yes.
Because wasn't that, that's questions for the chairman, wasn't that discussed at the last meeting about big loss of like impervious, like massive increase in impervious?
Yeah, they told us that we're going to lose pervious surface.
Yep.
Is what they said.
I guess that's just what I was curious about from the last meeting. There was a big discussion for a while about that there was a massive increase or more asphalt on the actual lot.
Well, what we talked about was in the area near, around the corner from the Cultec thing. They originally said, is this still true, that they are carving into the hill to create those spaces?
It's not carving into the hill. If we were to try and take any more than that, we would hit the hill. So we're going as far as we can without carving into the hill.
Are you going into taking down trees in that area?
Not in that area, no. Overall on the plan, we are proposing to transplant some of the existing trees, which are 5-6 years old, if we can save those rather than bringing in some new ones. Though there are additional trees proposed all around this.
Kent, let me ask Kent, are you referring to the discussion that we talked about, that it appeared that they were coming closer to the walking path?
not just that, it just seemed like the site is being like, you know, you're basically taking any green area you have left and it's becoming completely concrete. So I think that, or, you know, like all parking. So
I
it's
think
like,
you're correct.
that's, there was like a pretty hefty discussion about
That's
the,
correct. I think
the section that was.
that is true. We're
Yeah.
losing green space.
Yeah.
Because they need it for parking.
Approximately 9,000 square feet. And we are, as I mentioned, surrounding that with trees to offset any heat island effect and obviously stormwater that mitigates any runoff.
So, Indra, any questions? And then
So the existing stormwater system will take care of this 9,000 square feet?
Yes, plus the stormwater that we're proposing under the row of 19 there.
I see.
in front of the building. Yeah.
Thank you.
all right. And Bill?
I see no problem with this. I just have one question, I guess, for John and Eileen. The total of this doesn't seem 20,000 square feet. Why is it coming before us as a?
Because,
The bylaw.
because we changed the bylaw, so now the threshold is 5,000 square feet, and every commercial project is going to you.
Thank you for refreshing me. I should have known that. Thank you.
So, for the sake of clarification, what we talked about was, in the last meeting with Frank DePietro, he mentioned this project. And he mentioned that they were, he gave me the impression that they were gonna cut into the hill. And he gave me the impression that they were going to have to remove some, this might all be wrong, but move some vegetation closer to the walking path. And if that's not true, then there's a non-issue here.
That is not true. The walking path is not on our property. And there's quite a buffer, as you can see there, all of that forested slope behind.
So
where
we're not
at.
losing the forested nature of the walking path because you're removing it, in other words.
No, and all of the buffer, all of the slope in front of it.
All right. I think we got off track there, or he brought it back to you folks and maybe the design was changed, I don't know.
No, nothing has changed.
Okay, so I guess we were off base a little bit, okay. And was there some rationale on the basis for mitigating the heat island effect for the additional pavement that you're planting trees? In other words, you're losing pervious surface. There's a little bit more of a heat island effect because of all the asphalt and concrete. And you're transplanting or planting trees. Was there any equivalence in terms of how you figured what needs to be done to offset the heat island effect?
No, there isn't. But it seemed like, there was some extra feet, I guess, in that space that we were programming with parking. So we put that on that one side of it wide enough so that we could get trees in there and landscape it.
You put in trees where you could get trees in.
Instead of having a narrow strip beside the building and a narrow strip down, we created more on one side so that it was wide enough so the trees can be sustained there.
Got it, okay, good. Thank you for that answer. All right, is there anything else from anyone here? All right, so I guess, unless there's somebody online with a question for this, we have, it's a public hearing, and our normal practice is that we go usually 2 meetings, unless it needs more. Did anyone hear anything here that requires follow-up from these folks?
I just have one question, I can't find it quickly. Is there pre-treatment, what's the pre-treatment before the Caltech?
The catch basins with deep sumps and hoods.
And is there like an isolator row on the Caltex?
We could certainly make it an isolator run. I'm just going to double check that we didn't actually put in.
So before the Caltech for infiltration, you would like to have more treatment? I see.
We could make the catch basins 450i inlets. There's one at either end, so it would be difficult to get the two of them together.
Would that increase the removal of suspended solids, John?
Not according to the DEP. They basically treat the 450i as basically equivalent to a catch basin for TSS removal,
So changing it to a 450i doesn't give you anything?
No.
We could make that the chambers an isolator row. I mean, it's one single row of chambers, so we could certainly do that.
Okay.
And what does that do? Could you explain for the benefit of the
That,
commission?
so that row of chambers that was shown in blue, it's slightly up off the screen there now, it would wrap that in filter fabric so that that traps any sediment before the water infiltrates out of it. And through the inspection ports, then that sediment can be vacuumed out routinely in accordance with the O&M plan.
Thank you for the explanation. All right, so I didn't hear did anyone hear anything else that they need to get to the commission before the next meeting? All right, then we will plan, I assume we will plan to close an issue at the next meeting, which is September 14th. Could I have a motion to continue the public hearing for Lifetime Fitness for 186 Middlesex Turnpike to expand the parking area to our September 14th meeting?
Did the planning board finish with this?
No, we'll be in front of them next week, the 7th. Sorry, is that next week? The week after.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? 700. Okay, so you continue to the 14th. We'll close an issue at the time.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. Okay, so now we're finally at planning board comments. We have a few administrative things, perhaps. Do we have any comments for the planning board on any of this?
We can certainly comment on the Lifetime, because they do have that before them. That's the only thing we have on the agenda that they have on their agenda.
Okay.
Can we comment to the Board of Health about the dog pound?
You could certainly ask them.
Just
if they-
inform them that we have concerns about it?
I mean, I know they do inspections on commercial kennels. I don't know if they do commercial, if they inspect.
Inspect
but
my
we can
chicken
ask-
coop every year, I mean, to
Right,
make
we-
sure. I
We
mean,
can ask them, yeah.
Clearly, it's,
They're coming next week.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the floor drains, if they're not connected to the sanitary sewer, that's basically a violation, a code violation, so.
clearly commission members are targeted.
Maybe that's it. I'm the only one in town that gets inspected chicken coop.
No, I wasn't implying that either. Okay, subcommittee and staff reports? Nothing?
Just to remind you that maybe Bill and me or somebody is just going to go to the General Bylaw Review Committee on Monday for their, sorry?
Larry.
And/or Larry.
Bill doesn't want to overwhelm them.
Oh, sorry.
Three
Well,
of you. Yeah, you already have 3 people there. If Larry's willing to go, he can.
one of these esteemed gentlemen, and possibly me, will, just to get feedback on the proposed wetland bylaw changes. That'll be it from them.
You want to go,
No, I'm backing up. There, that it will be on the September town meeting, that issue.
Yep.
And I am preparing to present it, and I will have a draft of the presentation within the next couple of days, and I'll send it to everybody for comments.
All right, other business, anything?
So I do have, so one Burlington Mall Road, you issued an order of conditions for the lab building next to the Marriott, and apparently the person who did the permitting retired, and they can't find the original order of conditions to record, so they've asked us to reissue. So I just need you to sign this. You can, and anybody can sign it. It doesn't have to be the original people, just so they can record the decision.
Are they still doing the lab building even though the market is softening for lab space?
It's a good question. I'm not really sure.
I think they're ramping up to starting, right? That was the intent.
Well, there's certainly a lot of site work that they could do before they do any construction. There's a lot of blasting and that sort of thing, so they may just start doing that.
Yeah.
to get ahead of the game.
Right. Okay, and upcoming meetings, September 14th and September 28th. Obviously, let the office know if you can't make it. And anything further? Nope. Could I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Conservation Commission?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Ken.
All those in favor? 7-0-0. There's never an objection.